When we first moved to our bare property, we wanted to garden but had nothing, including no soil. We sit on a pile of glacial rock and no water source, so we had to make do with what we had. We brought in some soil, used pine needles as mulch, had no deer fence, yet tossed some seeds in the ground anyways just to see what would happen. As we hauled our water to our property in 7-gallon water jugs, water was a premium, so we watered the garden with our sink water from the RV. Not much grew, and what did grow, the deer munched up eventually. Our harvest consisted of a tiny beet and a measly handful of potatoes. We knew half-grassed gardening wasn't gonna cut it. We were gonna need a proper garden. And so began construction of something a little more robust. A 16 by 32 foot raised bed garden with the deer fence was underway. First things first, we had to map out exactly where we wanted the garden to sit, and then we got to work digging holes to put posts in the ground. This was my first big, mostly solo project on our property. Jesse helped, but the design and the bulk of the work was up to me, myself, and I, but better a garden than a house. I knew I was in for a bumpy ride, but hopefully the reward at the end would be well worth it. Pretty good?
Yep.
The posts were 8-foot tall reclaimed peeler cores that we got for free. Once those were in place, the real work began. It was in the construction of the raised beds where I faced my demons and grew as a person. The murmurs of my own 4-letter words kept me company while Jesse was busy working on his pilot's license. They say measure twice, cut once. I measured once, and I cut once. Every raised bed was a head game for me, and I thought surely I'd run into a problem I just couldn't solve, but lo and behold, I didn't give up and worked my way through each and every one. The real challenge was that the garden was built with reclaimed materials, so no two boards were the same length. I had to get really creative with bed spacing and scabbing boards together to make it all work. I guess you could say I earned my stripes with using a handsaw, and I now fully appreciate the benefit of power tools. Little did we know it, but once the majority of the beds were built, the project would be put on hold. Over a year, a partial house build, and several compost pile turns later, we resumed the build. It's time to give the garden a little TLC. Although the framework of the garden was completed, it felt like we had miles to go to be able to plant anything. Not to mention, a sea of knee-high weeds. Because the beds are so deep, we decided to put tree bark in the bottom to take up some space so we'd need less soil. We moved soil into the garden to make the walking area somewhat level. This makes it way nicer in here, don't you think?
Yeah.
Not bad, Alyssa, not bad. Soil and homemade compost was added to the beds next. Then, sawdust as mulch, left over from milling our timber frame. Ah, yes. This is what I'm talking about. There's our soil. 2.5 yards, baby. Because we have little native soil on our property, we had to bring even more in to fill up the remainder of the beds. We laid down some fabric as a weed barrier. If I remember correctly, I was hella sore after this day. I like that the very first rule is do not direct this at people. Why? Because it's been done before. People are people. People do people-y things.
Yeah, let's do it.
Okay. With help of a wood chipper, we turned more waste wood on the property into wood chips to flood the garden with.
You broke it!
These things are seriously cool. We feel like superheroes when we turn what would otherwise be waste into something valuable. For the first time, I was really believing that we just might be on our way to having a real garden. It's mid-June, gardening season is well underway, so everything is 50% off. I'll show you guys what's in the back, and I'll show Jesse what's in the back, more importantly, when I get home. We'll see if he's excited or angry at how many plants I'm bringing home.
Where is it?
Door number A is the back seat behind the passenger, or behind the driver.
Oh dang!
Ready for the seeds?
There's more?
For our first real garden, I wasn't gonna worry about starting from seed. Nursery starts it was. Remember, learning to garden isn't about doing all the things your first year, but starting somewhere. I'm pretty sure I'm more useful helping than with a camera in my hand, right?
Yeah.
Okay. And finally, a deer fence to keep those pesky critters out.
This fencing has been challenging for no other reason than the weather. And the fencing is heavy and awkward. And our garden's awkward.
Yeah.
And
this was done by Alyssa like 18 months ago with a string and a string level. As a gesture of his love, Jesse volunteered to build a gate to keep those deer out once and for all. You know, provided we remembered to actually close it at night.
Okay, to be fair, it's a little hard to fit a door in a gap that changes that much from the top to the bottom. Well, it's definitely not going to keep Bugaboo out. But I think the deer, which are the real pests, will get the message.
Did you see our sorrel?
Oh, wow.
2 days.
What the heck?
This is so frustrating.
What a pathetic plant.
Right? I don't know if it's because it's a cool season.
Are you serious? What? It's not even been hot. This plant is gonna die.
Planting day has arrived, and you know what? We've earned it. It's been a long time coming. I think getting the garden to this stage is a little bit more work than we thought it would be, which is perfectly okay. We're reminding ourselves we're not working on a garden for this year per se. We're working on a garden for many, many years to come, and that's what we've done as we invested in our future over the past week. Do you want to do the honors?
Yeah. So what do I do? Tip it over?
Gently pull it out and place her in.
Did you go a little deeper probably?
Tomatillos, chives, marigolds, tomatoes, chard, basil, sorrel, peppers, lots of peppers. If these plants actually produced, we knew we'd be dining well this season.
You think we can grow 20 pounds of carrots in that thing?
I have no idea. I have no idea what I'm doing.
So remember how 2 hours ago we said thanks for gardening with us, guys?
Encore, encore.
Yeah, Alyssa's been out here.
There were more seeds.
Look
There's
at-
more seeds in my box.
Look at those eyes, guys. Those are the eyes of a mad, mad gardener.
I'm pretty sure my mom named me after this plant.
Really?
But I
Oh.
really resonate with this plant.
You resonate with
There's
it?
no gessiums.
Yeah, so you're like a carpet of snow?
Now, we wouldn't have a proper garden in the mountains of Idaho if we didn't grow potatoes. We were out of bed space and weren't ready to build more, so we opted for black plastic bins. Before we knew it, our modest garden was producing food. We couldn't believe our eyes. It was so much fun waking up every morning and running to the garden to see what grew while we were sleeping. We hand-watered portions of the garden daily. We learned that sun-gold tomatoes are arguably, in fact, as good as candy. That's a carrot. Look at that carrot.
Look at that.
Hey, carrot.
Oh, little guy. He's about a pinky carrot. Oh, hey Tomato, what you working on there, buddy? Looks like you've got a little tag along.
We never imagined that things would do this well, but we weren't sad about it at all. It was a great season, more than we could have hoped for, but the inevitable finally happened. Just look at this spaghetti squash. How sad. Wow. Our very first Harvest Palooza was underway, just after our first hard frost. "24 poblano peppers off of one plant. That's pretty dang good if you ask me." I can't even hold it out that far. This is insane! "28. That's the final count. Granted, some of those are small, but some are big. That's a lot of spaghetti squash! Nighty-night, garden. See you next year. A new season and new aspirations. Build the remainder of the garden beds. This was the year we hoped to have our best garden ever. Behind the scenes, I was doing a lot of planning, researching, and yes, starting our own seeds indoors. Wow, that is a cherry on top of my sundae.
Oh yeah. That's getting there.
Now this is what you call maximizing your garden space. A new and improved automatic watering system was born. Surely this would make our life easier and keep the garden on autopilot, more or less. We got an early start and we're feeling really confident about the months to come. Alright, little guys, are you ready to go to your forever home? We started everything indoors that we could, but our starts were tiny when we transplanted them. We hoped everything would catch up quickly. Meanwhile, everything we direct sowed was doing pretty good.
That's good.
I like that, yeah.
I like that right there.
Happy medium.
Yeah, I can see the house. I can see the sign to remind me to garden. I think it's
But
pretty
you have
good.
to come to the garden to remind yourself to garden.
Well, you have to come. Well, as you're leaving the garden, you're reminded to come back to the garden. Oh, don't let me down.
Oh, come on.
I've got a
that one's gonna be silly looking.
I've got a reputation to maintain.
That's not bad.
Oh, I got two.
Oh, you cheated.
Good Lord, can you carry all that?
Hey, where are you going with all those carrots? Hey, get back here.
Wow.
That's like a huge bunch of carrots. Smoothies for days.
My goodness, smoothies. Well, guys, I have some bad news. Not quite sure how to break it to you. Rather, I'm not quite sure how to break it to myself. Just when things were really getting going in late September, we had a record-breaking frost that threatened to kill everything in its path. It was time to harvest about a month earlier than the year prior. Bummer. Here's to all the peppers that never peppered. Here's to all the melons that never meloned. All of our tomatoes were pulled green, but they did ripen up indoors beautifully. Oh, I can't even lift it with one hand. As a new gardener, it's easy to see all the things you're doing wrong instead of the things that are going well. We had a killer potato harvest. We were really happy with our onion harvest, especially as we started from seed. There's clearly lots of room for improvement, but it's hard to say that we're not well on our way to growing our own food. Dun, dun, dun.
Holy cow.
What you think? We hope this serves as some inspiration to new or even experienced gardeners, or even people who are garden curious. You don't need a killer garden overnight, but it's okay to start small and build on your knowledge year after year. We're personally inspired by our garden every time we look at it, knowing it was built with patience, love, care, and we know it'll provide food for our family for years to come.